If I could force feed one simple system into every single agent I get a chance to coach or mentor, something so simple, something so repeatable, and so powerful, alone, it could pull you to the top of this industry, this would be it. So buckle up. This isn't new. The things we're going to talk about aren't new. They're not overly sexy, but they work. Every time it's done, and agents thrive within the system. So welcome back to another Re-Education Experience podcast. We are on episode 98. Holy cow, number 98. So thank you for being on this Re-Education Experience, this podcast-powered journey. We have laid some incredible frameworks and some groundworks to this point. The 7 C's, I had so much feedback on what this was needed for business. The core 4, the plus 4, and then just last week, we talked about the success triangle, giving you that universal lens into your business, how to audit and improve any area of it. So again, I hope you are ready to rock and that these are things that are really helping you out in your business. So now it's time to put the tools and a lot of the basics and the baselines and the foundation that we've talked about into practice, into something I call the Every Realtor's Plan. This thing I rolled out internally to my Redline family about a year ago because I really felt compelled to put something together after 20 years coaching and supporting agents that everybody needs to have foundationally running in their business. And if they do, well, most of them, this is all they need, to be totally honest. So this is the closest I've found to, universal blueprint. How about that? A universal blueprint, a system that works whether you're brand new or you've been in the business like 20 years like myself. So let's get into this. Why should you even consider this, you guys? Why should this thought of a universal blueprint work for you when you know the business, the experience levels, the areas you live in, the market conditions you've got are all over the map, right? Why should you consider this? And the simple reason is agents overcomplicate their business. That's it. And my goal is to stop that. My goal is to put the big hand up, stop sign, no more complication. Because as complicated as this business feels, it actually in practice doesn't have to be, right? Most agents are caught in one of 2 traps. Chasing the next big trend, which I've hammered at a ton. Or number 2, worrying where their next deal is coming from. Chase the trends and tactics and worry. Neither one really equate to something very positive, do they? The Every Realtor's Plan, you guys, solves both of this. It gives you the confidence that you always have something working, because that's nice to know when you put your head on the pillow. And it creates a self-perpetuating flywheel of business. Who doesn't want perpetual energy in their business, especially the longer you go in it? So the plan is simple, but like anything worthwhile, it's not easy to do. It requires that consistent action and constant intention to just keep yourself corralled. And if you need that, go back to the 7 C's where I really built this. And that's why most, unfortunately, don't do it, yet I wish everybody did. If you do, like I alluded to, you will sleep better knowing you've got things covered and things are running. You'll stop panicking when the quiet months happen because you have the Every Realtor's Plan just rolling. And you'll know exactly what's working and then where to improve it. So what exactly, friends, is the Every Realtor's Plan? Well, let's go. It's 2 steps. It's 2 parts. It's, 2 pillars of this business, okay? Part number 1, I call it maximizing your sphere. So maxing out your sphere, and I'll go one step further, with your MVP, minimum viable product. So every agent, every one of us, we wake up with a gold mine, an undervalued gold mine. It's our networks, right? It's our networks. We know people know us, we trust people trust us, and every day we meet more, right? If you're the one sitting behind a desk and not trying. Every day we meet more, which is amazing. Every day we wake up, we have an opportunity to meet more. But do they know how you can serve, how you can serve them, right? Do they know how they can serve them? That's the simple goal. The people that we know, and this sounds similar to, in the core 4, we talked about the warm outreach bucket, the top one on the left, which was people that I know, hearing about our stuff one-on-one, all right? That's the goal. To create what I call the MVP, the minimum viable product I'm going to say minimum viable product of touch points, we need to put a few consistent efforts together. And this is why this episode hits today, because it's a consistent set of actions across, guess what? Last week's topic, which was our success triangle. And this ensures that everyone that knows me and how I can help them now or even into the future. Because it's not, out of the 100 people we bring in here, 2, 3, maybe 4 might be looking to sell or buy this year, right? So this is the most critical foundation of our business. Let me go back through this. It feels like it's the core 4. It feels like the warm outreach bucket, but now it's part 1 of your 1-2 punch to create basically never-ending leads in this business, right? It doesn't, again, take long to think about a client, an agent on my team, somebody that's worked at our brokerage that like had some success, right? Solid start, right? But maybe year 2 was not as beautiful, right? Because, oftentimes you get some early adopters into your business. If you're loud and proud about what you do and you've got a reasonable network, you're going to have those early adopters into your business. But year 2 sometimes, because you haven't built out an operating system yet, you haven't gone through, say, the success triangle, starts to get a little rocky. And you might have done 10 deals one year and you're all the way into September, October, and you're like, I've only got 5 done, right? And we see this all the time. So when you do this, when I coach clients, you look into the network and you see how many people they have. What is the total database size? And when I ask, when's the last time they heard from you? Most agents will just pause. Agents talk a lot, right? We'll talk ourselves out of deals. But when you ask them about how often they've touched their database, they go as mute, as am I. All right. So to build a simple MVP, we go back to the triangle and we talk about stage 1 of the Every Realtor's plan is going back here. Do you have a digital touch point, right? Are you running an email newsletter? So many agents I know don't have this running, right? They haven't taken the time to build a CRM and they're not running at least a monthly newsletter. See, the market stats come out per month. Not everybody's looking to buy or sell, but they need to hear your voice. At the very minimum, your MVP should be a 1 time per month digital newsletter leaning into the success triangle. I would even suggest that the minimum should probably be with a bi-weekly in there as well. Some piece of value, community driven for your local market, and adding some context to what's going on in the city, what new things have come, what political strife is in the market, and just they need to hear from you, okay? So that would be the one. The next one would be a traditional means. A minimum viable product that you need to have to the people that know you is some traditional way that they hear from you. Traditionally, it has to be at least every quarter that they're hearing a personal message from you. Could this be a voice note in your phone to them? Yes. Could it be a physical phone call, right? Could it be a pop-by to just drop off something of your latest gifts of the month, right? Something traditionally every quarter has to happen and feel, and that's your minimum viable product. Coupled with your monthly newsletter and or bi-weekly newsletter. And then socially, you guys, if you've got the quarterly touch points traditionally, socially, what do you have to do here? It's actually not that much. Like I alluded to last week, they just need to all be on your social, and you need to have a cadence on your social media so that they can see your life, see what you're up to, see your walking proof of success in the business, and you got to showcase that. If you think about your MVP being no more than, say, 24 email touches a year with 4 in-person touches, and then 3 to 5 posts per week, if that one person in the center of your universe is here with an opportunity to consume all that, do you believe that is punch number 1 of your 1-2, that the people that are interested to buy or sell will come your way? Is this one of those sleep better moments? And if you get this up and running, it becomes the core foundation for your business, right? It's not going to be hard to say once you've kind of got all these things running that you can feel pretty good that this business, these people are served properly, right? Yeah, that's what the MVP does. We talked about, what it could be, phone calls, coffee invites, events, mailers, notes, email newsletters, text updates, video messages, birthday automations, the weekly touch points on Reels, the posting strategies, market thoughts, celebrate your wins, showcase your testimonials, show up consistently just to be there both in the DMs and in the comments, not just when you're posting. It's that baseline level of visibility that you can sleep well. All right, so when it's up and running, you just stop being invisible, right? You stop being the secret agent and you start being remembered. And that's it. So if you believe me that part one needs to get up and running, and maybe that's your focal point for now, and you find between last episodes and this one that you realize that, yeah, Darren's harping on me and it's time to probably put this into practice. Part number two is where the business really starts to like kick up a notch. And part number two is it's not maximizing the sphere anymore. This is maxing out the active client opportunities. So let's max out the opportunities we get. And what do I mean by this? See, this is when we have MVP running with our sphere and you're starting to generate business. Well, now you've turned them from sphere to an active client. And you have an active client now. And what I want you to think about is, okay, what I did worked, raised hands. What I did worked, got people into contract. Now, phase two of my plan is when I have it in contract, not only do I have to serve this database really well and I have to make them feel good about the transaction and succeed in what they're intending to do, but you have a responsibility in your business to use punch two, which is the second phase, which is this asset can drive more business. And not just from my database, not just from the friend of a friend again, but because you have a sign on the lawn, because you're representing a client in a community. This is the part that a lot of agents ignore. They don't create a bit of the momentum that can come. When somebody chooses us, buyer or seller, this is your proof of concept now in motion, meaning you're in the queue, right? We have to turn one deal into two. And this is part two, right? When I talk to you about the cycle of life, as the phases of this business, this is the harvest where you're working with the client and you have opportunities within the deal. And then you've got regrowth, meaning I've now sold. What are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it? This is where they come alive, right? So the how around phase two is more about multiplying the moment you've got, right? How do we do this? How do you turn your listing asset into a marketing machine online, right? Are you taking your listing and are you doing video marketing, short form and long form, to grow and showcase your success? Maybe you are, right? Turn your client's success, where you've handed over the keys, but now into a story, a video testimonial, just static testimonials, images, right? Anything that is like, I've now helped them with the client, that is now allowing you to continuate and have further multiplication of that really successful moment. Are you using it to your advantage? Or are you just hoping you're going back to phase one, which is telling the people that I know about what I do, and when they're ready, they'll call me, right? This is, do you explore the concept of speaking to the neighbors, right? Do we send just listeds into the community during the harvest? Do we door knock around your listing before the first open house? Do you go out and tell the neighbors about what their neighbor just sold for, right? These are all action items to multiply the moment again, right? Are you doing this traditionally? Are you doing this also on your emails? Does your database know that you've succeeded? Not just in the business. Does the database know they can call on you to learn about how much the home sold for? Does anybody online know that when a house sells, this is the new standard? And then maybe you kind of give them some curiosity about whether the market's going up or down in equity as well, right? There's so many opportunities to multiply the moment. And if you think through, are you doing it, right? Asking for a review before the deal closes, right? Invite them to your client community events that you host. Getting everybody that is your client also into the long-term database, right? Are you sharing the behind the scenes prep moments that you now have access to because you have been a hired agent? Or are you only showing the wins at the very end, right? The goal here is use your proof of success to spark new conversations. If you want 1 = 2 to happen, this has to be intentional. And this is intentional through the success triangle, in which parts of your active business, your buyer client experience, and your seller listing can use some intentionality to drive more real estate conversations, right? Does it sound like a lot, or does it sound doable? Very often, this is what I'll do. If I took an agent in and we sat in a coaching session, we'd see, okay, you did 24 deals last year. Awesome. We'll audit where they came from almost all the time, especially, most people that are newer and or just like have gotten comfortable in the business. They'll say, like 80% of my business is coming from my MVP, meaning like my sphere, the people so you're obviously doing something right. But zero or very few coming from any monetization efforts. You know what? Okay, so all these 12 listings of the 20 that you've sold, can you tell me that none of your new business or leads has come as a result of that? And oftentimes it's to be like, yeah, it's just more database. So it just shows that in phase 2 of the Every Realtor plan is not being running for you, right? Can you do stuff more post deal? Right? Send a seller thank you for the testimonial, right? Post the listing under contract and then put out sold content as well, but with a story, right? Can you email database about like what I learned from this sale? Same thing you can do in front of people about what I learned about what people love about your street, what I've learned about what the market is willing to pay for homes like yours now, right? These are all the after deal things that a lot of clients, agents, just don't put into practice. But this is a part 2 of the 1-2 punch. You do this well, your 1 equals 2. You could just imagine with some intentionality, that like 20 deals can turn to 40 pretty quick. 10 can work to 20. If you could just get away from only having phase 1 and not a phase, and then finally getting some phase 2 going in your business, the Every Realtor perpetual machine starts to go, because the flywheel effect starts to happen. It just continues to go around and around and around and around, because every piece of business creates more, right? When you run your MVP, guys, you maximize your active client business. Your business then, that business you got from number 1 fuels the flywheel. And then it just keeps going. You don't need to chase anymore. You just have to keep up with the MVP, with the people that know you. And then your MVP for every listing or buyer launch and closings, what will you do intentionally, right? Because the MVP will bring the buy now, sell now people, right? The client systems, the things you put into practice when you now have a client and you take a listing to go out and create more real estate conversations, creates the buy later and the sell later crowd, right? And then each deal creates new deals, and that's where the flywheel comes in. That's the engine. It's as simple as that. And it's the one that most agents never build, but the ones that do realize, holy cow, has this gotten easier than trying to chase some random lead generation strategy that's completely separate and not aligned with the work that you're doing. The beautiful part of this flywheel is if you've got your client here and it drove business up here and you're at the top of the funnel and you get another piece of business because of the sold, and then that person or even leads comes back in here, guess what? Every person gets dumped into your MVP phase 1. Every person you meet throughout the transaction goes into the MVP process for the people that you know. And then when they're ready, they raise their hands and it goes around and around and around. And this is the engine that we want. So a lot of people will hear this and be like, that sounds great. And they'll say, well, I don't have enough people in my world. I think we do, right? The 10% rule applies. If you've got MVP set up, meaning that 10% of the people you know will either buy with you, sell with you, refer you, or do repeat business, as long as they remember you and trust you, okay? So you have more than enough, you're just not top of mind yet, and that would be phase number 1, right? People refer me if I do a good job. Will they refer me if I do a good job? Oftentimes we just expect them to come our way because we did the job they hired us to do. But this is not gonna happen mostly unless we ask, we prompt the questions, and we stay visible again, right? So many agents do great work, but then don't ask for the referral and don't run and put themselves in front of them enough to be remembered when the water cooler talk happens, right? And then the other thing that I hear all the time is, Darren, there's no way. This is too simple. This is too simple. Simplicity is, however, the superpower of this strategy, because it's the only thing you'll actually sustain, the 1-2 punch. All right, friends, just as I record this, I had a 91 deal agent in my office. And if I unpacked and sat him down here, the MVP he's having running for the people he knows is exactly that. It drives, and it's only now in around the 90 deal range that is he going beyond general database, maxing out the transaction, and he's looking to scale into the 100+ deal mark. And guess what? Deals are now coming from other strategies. But very few people even listening to this podcast will ever be in the position to need to go beyond 90 deals per year. So I guess, guys, as I leave you, as I always like to, what if your business wasn't a mystery anymore? What if it ran because you built it to run that way, right? The 1-2 punch. What if every person in your world knew without a doubt how you could help them? What if that was just happening because the MVP was happening? What if every client deal created 1, 2, 3 more conversations for you? What could happen? Once the Every Realtor plan gets running in your life, you're going to feel like this business is no longer complicated, and you just have to commit to keeping it up. All right, friends, thank you once again for listening to another Reeducation Experience podcast. Lean in on this one. Listen on this one again. And if you haven't come to the Roam workshops, this is a killer one to have me and you go through this together. Again, I hope to see you on the inside, www.reeducation.school, and we'll talk to you again soon.